press is, so it'll throw me off.
And I like to use the numerical key.
Yes,
so it's like,
me too.
I want that. Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
helpful.
Yeah, I like the HP.
Yeah, I told my husband, I saw my friends use my phone. This is really fun. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
Oh, Christy.
Hello, how are you doing? Wednesday meeting for the social? Go ahead. High fivers.
Oh my. Hello, Ned. How are you? I love you too.
Huh?
I said I love you too.
Oh, hey.
Wednesday social. That's all you have to say.
Come to social.
Is it tomorrow?
Oh, I miss you. Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow. I'd say you just didn't ignore us. You found other things to do. Don't want to do this anymore.
I found that.
You look like a lady I saw in Lowe's.
Huh? Yeah, and then you ignored me. You did that
I
thing.
did not ignore
Then
you.
you just went with your lovely
You were
wife.
playing shopping. I was playing shopping.
Yeah, you said okay, fine. Nobody knows anybody beyond this
Nobody wants to
office.
talk to me anymore.
You rascals. It's okay, I will survive.
Ignored.
Aww.
I will survive.
Poor little thing. Oh, I think breakfast looks good.
That's the only reason I'm here.
Got blueberry muffins, coffee cake muffins,
I
and assorted
saw
bagels.
Kimberly's text. I said, thank you, darling. I was going to text you. It's so funny. I was going to just, is there going to be breakfast? And that's what I got. Breakfast is served. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
She do.
I did on the next ride in the car. Oh, Melissa, what car?
So you're not again.
I'll be in there.
Awesome, thank you. The one day you pick to have a meeting is the day it's going to rain this week.
This weekend is supposed to be like 10 degrees. Yes.
When does the car come?
Whenever I order it, I've got.
Like you get to pick your color.
Yes. Yeah, whatever they have in stock, I have to choose from that.
Well, that might be the kicker. Here's two. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
Whoa. Now, how long is your lease for?
It's not a lease.
Is yours so well free and clear? Oh, then I can definitely wait for the one I want.
Exactly.
I hope you played the Georgia lottery.
That's what Jim said.
Exactly.
He's like, play the lottery.
I love donuts. Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Mom.
How you doing?
Hello.
I made this just for you.
You are so sweet.
I know. It's really a burden. My pleasure.
These are special. Oh, so cute. That's right, I know. We're favorites, of course.
Well, I just want to ride in your car. What kind of raffle was it?
It was for the market centers and just all of the market centers that reached certain goals.
Yeah.
The MCA was put in a raffle and they took a big draw. It's exciting.
Oh, it's fantastic.
How's your son doing?
Doing great. He clinched it. Made it to the big semis. They lost the semis, but yeah.
That's amazing, though.
I'm a history of Georgia and beating Wake Forest. That was like an opportunity. Oh, nice. That's big.
That's really big. Not just kind of big.
I'm Tara.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Mary had a little nap.
Thank you.
Mary had a little nap.
This is awesome.
How are you?
It's redundant in my house. It would never come off of that towel.
It can always be dirty.
Exactly. Because the minute it's clean, it's dirty.
Oh, no.
Give you light.
Right now, I'm on
There's a little insecticide to attract and trap flying insects. Just plug it in and trap bugs around the clock. Zebo. People
Good morning. It is. Regardless of size, regardless of anything. What we find is that. Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Missed you. Haven't seen you.
Hey, how are you?
I
Less than 20 minutes. I know, thank you for sharing that stuff. I had, you know, the Cobb children have no shoes,
Properties like
so I have to get some of my stuff.
keeping it up to date. And we wind up with a much
Okay.
higher level of clientele from a management perspective. Michelle. Really. Exactly. So I'd rather manage it. So she reached out to me. She was $50,000 homes. It's going to be the same. And I get to get tenants. She's more likely to put that where have you already located.
Absolutely.
Okay, I told her I just wanted to check with her.
Absolutely.
All right, her name is Sharon. She's so
If you
sweet.
want to send me her name and telephone number and email, reach out and say hello and please come and we'd love to have you.
We'll go there and
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Are you feeling better?
No, I don't have to get it. I just passed the class.
Yes.
No, I'm not really trying to say much of anything. That's hilarious because my mother is Walker. My mother is so that's how my mother's an appraiser, my sister's a broker. I run a call center. And somehow I found myself in this and don't bring it back to It's mostly straight but it can go as high as 10. But we do nobody has to guess. How does what's to raise and incentive for us is we don't want to lose clients. So, you know, it's our goal to keep them at market level because we know then we're going to lose them. I'm watching my we have 2 ways to connect with the workload and Apple loans or they call it a 24-hour service. We send them $100 then we have the client fund a $300 escrow account and just keep that level in there so that we can handle the emergency stuff. But that's going to be bigger. We have them, we send out contractors to the books and anytime a work order is submitted, the owner is notified electronically as soon as it's in the system. And then they send it out, they can approve it, disapprove it, whatever they want to do. If they approve it, we get the contractor out, the contractor will upload their invoice, plus the contractor is required to take photos. So that if they have to file a homeowner's emergency claim, they've got all the but we handle all of it, anything from landscaping issues, which I've got a house right now that before we can get it rent ready, I have to get a landscaper, a flooring guy, a carpet guy, a cleaner, a painter, and an electrician, all out there. Well, that's why they make us be agents. I have no desire to sell them at all.
Kimberly, is Wednesday on the slides today?
Any of the combination companies to our agents. Yes, it's we pay 50% of the contract to return agent.
I'm so sorry I missed it. I'm like, I was doing all the stuff. I'm like, oh my God, on the way home.
So they go right back to you. Will not.
Hello. And I was the same thing.
Jimmy loves because it's weird.
And then my friend's like, you didn't call me back. I'm like, Sunday just got away from me. And then when I got to the quarter deck, it's sea line. And I'm like, oh, my quarter deck stuff. And I sounds like we've been out there. I hadn't been out of sea line in years. And I said, I should have called you and out. What were you doing there? Next time, that's true.
Yeah, we went to
Kid stuff.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. We have a full agenda.
Me too. And then I saw your post on my picture. And I went, oh.
Makes me feel better.
Anyway, guys, I hope everybody is having a great day. We were talking this morning about the market, just what's going on out there, and I was asking how they felt about it, and the result I got was that a lot of people are tired right now. The listing agents are tired of having to call. So many people say, sorry, you lost. But anyway, guys, that's good. Anyway, but as an office, though, our business is still up. Last year, units, closed units were up 7%. A lot of places are down, but we're up 7%. So, guys, as we look at, tell us something good, guys, that the market that still is a great market, but they were up from last year. That is really, really good. So somebody else give me some good news. Who else has some good news this morning they want to share?
Jim, I will.
All right.
My
Great.
Youngest son got accepted to medical school.
Let's give him a hand.
So send more referrals. Reed needs to pay for some of that.
It's just money, Reed. But Bob Kalinsky, Bob Kalinsky, do you have some good news you want to share with us?
I have some great news.
Well, come on. Does everybody know Bob Kalinsky?
Yes.
This is Bob, this is Linda Kalinsky. Bob and I have been friends. Kindergarten. We went to secondary school.
We went to different schools together.
Exactly right. So Bob, we had something sort of what happened last
On
week.
Friday, we had the end of the Open the Connect contest. And on Friday, we gave away 3 BMWs to MCAs. Guess who won the Georgia MCA?
The best MCA in the whole world.
How many MCAs standing around the car with you?
There were a lot.
Georgia has more MCAs than the other 2 states combined.
Wow.
And so the odds were not in anybody's favor. And we felt a little guilty about that, but then after we saw the smiles and stuff, we stopped.
It was worth it, yeah.
But I thought I'd stop by this morning, and she's gonna get a brand new BMW. We need a
Probably this week or next week.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get it started and.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you this in public. You have the right to get the car that's on the certificate. You have the right to get any other car you want to get.
Okay.
So here's the deal. If you want an X1 or an X3, which I think costs a little bit less than that, I'll write you a different check.
Wow.
So she has a certificate for a certain amount of money, which BMW's already guaranteed to sell the car that she sat in at that price. It doesn't cost her a dime. That you want to, buy the X6.
Exactly.
M,
You're gonna pay the difference for that too.
No. But Jim said he was.
Excellent.
Just to get you started in the BMW move, we have something.
Thank you.
So you have to open it now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
And Linda said, was it unicorn bring BMWs?
Yeah.
Look at
Oh, there you go.
That's
I know.
not something to use in the office.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it comes, it's already full.
Oh, I love it.
Notice this.
Oh,
2 of those
that is awesome.
and 1 of these.
Yeah, because
Now,
you'll drink twice.
what would that infer to you? Work less,
Exactly.
travel more.
Exactly.
All right.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
how excited we are for you. And we're very proud of the East Cobb office because you all made it happen. You know how the contest worked. The only reason she qualified is because you all, in conjunction with your team leader, recruited people, and that was the connection we were looking for. An OP called me yesterday, he says, Bob, we really are excited about the contest, and we really worked hard at it, but when we really got down to it, we didn't understand it. I said, well, let me explain it to you. This is what we did at the region last year. We said, we're coming out of COVID. We want to reconnect our agents with the office and the team leader through a means that everybody will win. And here's the win. We had the agent sponsor recruit, build their downline, they win. If Jim gets the agent to join the office wins with the production, and the team leader wins with larger profit and bonuses. But in the mix, we said, that means the MC is gonna work harder. So how does she or he win? We said, let's give them the car. So it worked win, 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 and we like that. Now, that doesn't mean stop doing this, because the wins still continue. And at the region office, we have plans to see how we can again reward the MCA who gets the load of what you do, while other people get, unless you have a bonus system that has how many entries you put, the other people get the major wins. So at the region office, we're very MCA conscious because we know they are the heartbeat of the office. So we ask every office, who would you take a bullet for? It's usually the MCA. So congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank y'all for letting us take your time.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
We interrupt the East Cobb ladies tennis game. You are in serious danger of having a problem.
Thanks, Bob.
Take care of it, Jimmy. Great work, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Great work. And by the way, I saw your numbers at the regional meeting. Very impressive, very impressive.
Guys, which office is number one in the region right now for close productivity?
How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Keep it up.
I will just tell you that. So what they did was they had about, how many people were up for?
There were 27, I think.
27, and then they had about 15 for
The other, like Alabama only had 9, and then Tennessee had 10 or 11, so.
So every time they pulled a name out, that person had to sit down. And so we got down to 10, we were still there. Got down to 5.
Then it got a little more real, and I was like, somebody's gotta win this thing.
Then we got to 2.
Oh my God.
We got to 2. I had a recording to play next week. And they said, and the winner is Melissa Kaler. And I went,
I did scream. Oh,
It was exactly that.
Yeah, it
was great. It was a lot of.
For the whole office too.
It was. Yeah.
So during peak summer season, you remember when you're going crazy.
Exactly.
pulling your
Everybody
hair
has to
down.
run around
Look
the
out the
lawn.
window.
Yeah.
All right, it's all worth it.
And what she doesn't know yet is the contract says if she leaves, just to turn the big ready in.
To share it.
Stay for 5 years. And then it's fine.
And 5 is exactly right. Thank you so much. Let's
Thank
get ready,
you.
guys. We have a full agenda. Is Thomas and Brown on? Carrie.
Oh, hey guys. Yes, I'm actually sitting in my car. I'm about to walk into a CE class. But thank y'all to everyone that came to our 2 events last month. We had a great turnout at Galleria in the Buckhead happy hour. And I wanted to tell you guys about 2 CE classes that we have in May. May the 16th, we're going to do building and closing using sizzling steps. So we're going to talk about how to best write stipulations. We're going to go over crazy stipulations, and it's actually going to be interactive where we're going to have y'all send us the craziest steps that you've ever written or received. And we're going to talk about these and whether or not they'll get you to a successful closing. And of course, that'll be followed by happy hour. I mean, what's a CE class without happy happy hour, right? And then on May 25th, which is also my birthday, we're going to do license law in the Quan office there because I know a lot of you guys need it. So we're going to go ahead and offer that one. And then we're also doing Code of Ethics in June. But of course, we'll talk about that as it gets a little closer. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. And thank y'all as always for your support. And if I have not had a chance to meet you, Thomas and Brown, we're your preferred affiliate attorney there. We have offices in Woodstock, East Cobb, Galleria, Alpharetta, Blue Ridge, and Buckhead. So we're all over town for you guys. And we look forward to another fabulous month. Can't believe it's already the end of April.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you. See you soon.
Listen, baby, thank you. Right, moving on. Who's up?
That will be us.
Come on. You guys move right.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
This is Reed and Danielle from Silverton, and I want to couch this little talk here in two overarching things. One is a bold law. So that's one of the things that you guys try to run your business by. Who's done bold before? I'm bold too. I've done it. It's about time to do it again. I did it during Snowmageddon, so it's been a while, right? So the bold law has come from contribution, right? So Danielle's going to tell you about what we're going to contribute to you guys to help you build your business.
Yeah, so we have our movie party coming up. We've mentioned before. We finally have settled on the 3 movies that we're going to provide at the movie party. So we've had some requests on some co-branded flyers. So if anybody wants some, we can get them to you this week. And we'd really love to have you and your clients come to our movie party.
Yep. You guys do the marketing. We cover the expense. So I'm a little nervous because a couple of these, that's the one I want to see right here. Because I'm sure y'all can see it clearly, right?
Yes.
Reed wants to go see the one on the left. It's Doctor Strange, which is the first one was mind expanding. Anyway, so that's the bold law, come from contribution. Do you guys know how it works? All you do is email me or Heather or Danielle, and we'll provide you a co-branded flyer, and you can invite all your clients to the movie. It's on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We rent out Merchants Walk Theater. We'll have 3 or 4 different theaters open. Sometimes they've had to open extras. And yeah, you get to touch your clients about 3 times. Invitation, if you happen to show up to greet them. And then afterward, we'll tell you which of your invitees came, and then you can follow up with another phone call. So it just helps you expand your touches with your clients. Second thing I want to talk to you about is we have a set of laws at Silverton that are called our bricks, the things that we built the business on. And the one I want to talk about today is called the closing is the center of our world. Every decision that we make at Silverton is around that closing table and that date. And one of the things that I think is super cool, and it may happen at other companies, I know it doesn't happen at most companies, is that there's a relationship between underwriting and sales. Now, Jeff will probably tell you that he's worked at companies, Camilo too, and Daniel too, at other companies where there was a tension at times between underwriting and sales. And sometimes the loan officers felt like they were having to beat their head against the wall. I'm sure it's not that way where you work now. And it's not supposed to be that way. So at Silverton, as soon as a loan is underwritten, we get either a phone call or a Teams message or an email from the underwriter saying, hey, I finished the underwrite on your Johnson loan. Please give me a call after you review if you have any questions about it. And we're able to actually interact about the underwrite right then and solve problems. Because sometimes maybe we uploaded something that the underwriter didn't see, or maybe we uploaded the wrong document accidentally, and she could say, and we could say, oh, I've got that. Let me go ahead and send it to you right now and get it cleared. So it's just a wonderful way to do business. It helps us stay on track and get to the closing table on time always. I mean, it just doesn't happen that we miss closings. I mean, even in 2020, that was a rarity, and 2020 was an absolute, I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, it was rough. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Anything we can do to help you, Danielle and I are here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Thank you, our wonderful sponsor, DK Reynolds.
Hello. I didn't bring a presentation because most of you have seen my presentation. I think this is the 3rd time I've been here since I started in February. So I'm happy to see all of you again, especially Yvette, who's not only a referring agent, but also a client. So I'm from DK Rentals. There are two things I want to tell you about today outside of my standard presentation. One is to reiterate why a partnership with DK Rentals and Keller Williams works. We protect our agents. We don't take listings from referrals that you give us. So if you give us a referral for someone who needs their home, they're an investor, they're buying a home solely for an investment property, they need somebody to manage it, you refer them to us, 2 years later they decide to sell and they say, hey, we want to sell this place, don't rent it anymore, we won't list it. We call you back. We give it right back to you. If you have won the lottery or, a whole bunch of BMWs, and you don't care about the listing anymore, we're gonna call your broker, right? We're not gonna take it. It's just not the way we wanna do business. And we do that because our relationship with you and the other 9 Keller Williams offices where we're preferred vendors is more important to us than one client. So we will always give that back to you. We charge 75% of the first month's rent to procure a tenant. The referral fee back to you for introducing us to that client is 50% of the first month's rent. So all you have to do, send an email with their contact information, introducing them and us. And once we get a tenant in their home, you get 50% of the first month's rent. And then again, if they decide to sell later on, you're gonna get the listing. I'm gonna send it right back to you. The second thing is something that I'm working on, so that's why it's not in a presentation, because it's not quite ready yet. But one of the things we hear a lot is, well, I wanna manage it myself. Guess who's most guilty of that? Real estate agents who become investors. So we have created, or I'm working on creating, a list, a checklist that we're gonna share with anybody who wants it. A checklist of all the things you have to do in order to manage your own property, going from marketing and listing what you can and can't say, which you guys are already well aware of with fair housing and all the great stuff there, to pet screening, to maintenance, to making sure all the light bulbs, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors are all working. How to check on the house, when you can and when you can't go in, all of that. And so far that checklist is 3 pages long. So people say, why do we need a property manager? Do you really want to spend your time doing these 3 pages worth of tasks every month or every time you have to rent it? So I'm working on that. If you have an interest in it and want to see it, you've got my card on your desk, email it. We charge a flat rate to manage property. Once we have a tenant in, it's $80 a month, period. So if you refer a client and they sign a full contract, which is the procurement and then the management, again, you'll get 50% of the first month's rent. That's a referral fee. That's about it for me. Most of you have already heard most of that. So I will tell you the story of the $70,000 bunny. Our tenant wanted to bring in a rabbit. Landlord said, nope, no pets. Tenant said, I'll show you, had it declared a service animal by a very reputable online holistic vet. The homeowner said, no. Homeowner was fined $70,000 for not allowing a bunny. Wow. If you self-manage, do you really want to take that risk? Probably not. So our motto, as crazy as it is, and I didn't make it up, but if you self-manage, you must have brain damage. Just you can thank my boss for that one. But let us take care of it for you. If you've got a client, I had a phone call at 8 o'clock last night from an agent from Peachtree Road, Keller Williams, who said they don't want to do it themselves. What do? I said, send me their info. So that's all she had to do, and if I sign them, she gets 50%.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions, you all? Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
What does DK stand for?
It is the sons' initials of the owners, so it's Declan and Kaylin.
I was going to say Durden and?
No, I've only been there 2.5 months, and for my good news share, 20 days countdown, 20 days till I take my real estate test.
Good. All right. I'll make you feel better, Stephanie. I passed it.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on.
Thank you all. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for allowing me to host.
Thank you.
Y4C2Ts. So guys, who am I gonna ask this morning? Who asked this morning? Here, what's your favorite one?
Today, let me process them real quick. I mean, they're all good, right? Last time I said communication, so I won't say that again. Integrity.
Integrity.
You have to, I mean, just do the right thing. You do the right thing, it gets you closer to win-win. I mean,
that's the one that I love, integrity. You always do the right thing. When we cut corners, guys, always comes back to haunt us. When you tell the agent, I will call you back tonight, just call them. Even if it's too late to call them, still call them. they're gonna do. They have the opportunity to say, pick up the phone or not. So guys, anyway, I love the Y4C2 cheese. Real estate conversation, lead gen, every Monday and Wednesday, guys. This happens every single week. People that go there, they come away knowing what to say and how to say it, guys. So that's every single week, Monday and Wednesday at 8:30, led by our wonderful Arthur Ream. All right, consultation dress rehearsal in the lead gen room and on Zoom. Also hosted by Arthur Ream. What's in the back of Arthur Ream?
I do.
Okay.
So last week we had the wonderful, who did we have? Jill Harris
And
and Andrew Morgan, and they came and they demonstrated the buyer consultation. So guess what our agents get to do tomorrow? You get to come in and present your buyer consultation, and no judgment. It's a no judgment zone, right? We're gonna help each other. We're gonna correct. We're gonna make suggestions on how you present a buyer's consultation in this market, right? Because it's different, right, than how we used to present it years ago. We're like, oh, where's the location, the home? Okay, let's go. Now it's, here are all the things that you have to do to actually get to the closing table. So we're gonna be in person primarily. If you're on Zoom and you wanna present, please reach out to me today so I can have you on the list, okay? But if you wanna present, I would say come in person and live, and let's just present. Let's just knock it out. Do it afraid. Last time we had a buyer consultation presentation, it was Rusty and Kadiatu and Ivan, and they knocked it out of the park. Guess what? All three names that I just called, they are killing it in this market because they came in and they didn't afraid. So guys, come on in, let's do it.
all right, thank you, Arthur Ream, for all that. Mastering Appraisals CE class led by Durden of DS Murphy. Mark Durden, excuse me, exactly, April the 28th. That's 9 a.m. to 12. It's going to be in the training room, so please RSVP using this link, which I'm sure you sent out. Is that true? Yes. So it's out there, guys. It's a great class. You may want to hear more about the appraisals. And Mark Durden's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's this Thursday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this Thursday. Thank you for reminding me about that. Group coaching, interpreting the first quarter stats with Liz Carr. Liz has grown up with this.
Yeah.
Liz.
Isn't that right, Liz?
She's looking at
You grew up with this, didn't you, Liz?
Ready.
Yeah, so she's ready. Hey guys, have y'all heard the great news? Her mother and father that came to Keller Williams and started the process, they are retiring.
Yes, they are.
Tell us about that.
Well, he's done it for 17 years, and they started as agents. He has an IBM background, so he loved charts and analysis, and really became a passion, and really he did the charts and the analysis. My mom was very good at helping agents with scripts. You know, she came up with the scripts to go with it, and they've loved doing it, but it's time. He is ready to retire again at 85.
Retire again.
Guys, we're losing the
I am not.
Jeremy Trask will take it over. And Jeremy also loves all that statistical stuff. So anyway, guys, great coaching with Liz Carr. Monday, May the 2nd. Come join her. I should be there, Liz.
Yes.
Maybe I'll understand it now.
I'll do
All right, group coaching, modern leverage for the single agent with Carrie Qualters. How do you make it in this market and have great leverage as a single agent? And Carrie knows how to do that. That's Wednesday, May the 4th, 11 to 12. Always good stuff going on. Journals for a cause. Who wants to talk about this?
I will.
Okay, please, Liz.
Hi. So we're still collecting journals, and it's for Cypria. Sorry, turn my back. There's a box in the not break room, the room across from Billy, and we are just collecting them for this organization. They need them for a retreat. Attendees, which they do 3 weeks out of every month, they get a blank journal, and there are instructions on which ones to get. You can do Amazon. There's a wish list on Amazon. There's a link to that, or you can go to TJ Maxx or Target or anything like that and just get a blank one without any, just no religious quotes is what they ask. So we're still collecting those, so feel free to contribute. We would love to have more.
Great. We will absolutely take care of that. All right, Michelle, talk about this.
I am so excited about this. We're going to drink this after. No, we will a little bit, but I got little shot glasses, so it's not. The purpose is Anya She is over in Poland bringing people from Ukraine across and resettling, so we're going to support her so we can be right there on the lines with her. We've set up an account to send money to her. Please join us from 4 to 6. We'll have different bourbons, and then we have charcuterie platters. So it's just fun. It's fun to do something with a cause. And Jeff?
Yes, and for those that don't drink bourbon, we're going to have wine and beer.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
Cover all the bases.
And Uber will be.
Uber's will be available.
Okay. I mean, these shot glasses, you're not. It's a taste. It's a taste. But the purpose is really, really good. I'm excited because every day we turn on the news and we see this and we think, what could we do? This is what we can do, and she's there making it happen. So,
How
4 to 6.
The people online here, guys.
How can they donate? You can bring your money, or we have an account that Kimberly, if you'll reach out to Kimberly, you can make a donation. We suggest $20. And Rusty, tell us about the bottle of bourbon that you're going to.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So the purpose of donating the bottle of bourbon was, I know everybody couldn't be there, but might want to donate. So, I don't know what we came up with for a price on the raffle tickets, but the goal would be $20.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody wants to put in for that, and isn't going to be here, but it's a 15-year World Whiskey Society bourbon, Mizunara oak. It's like coconut, spicy, really, really good bourbon. But would love to hit us at 5,000. So those of you folks that can't make it, you're still not out of this. Got potential to get that bottle. Just make your donations, please.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you on Michelle for heading this up, and we're looking forward to having Rusty give us education on which bourbons are the best bourbons. So he's the
All
one.
to everybody's taste. Everybody's
He
palate.
does, you're right. Everybody's takes exactly right, Jeff. Listings, remind you about this is Courtney's first entree into the doing CE classes, not CE class, but doing classes. And so she is going to teach you how she was able to take 120 listings herself, not her team. And so guys, please do this, May 4th, 11 to 4. Where can we find out more about this?
Reach out to me.
Reach out to Kim. Or Courtney's office, and she will take care of you guys. This is exciting, though. Thank you, Courtney. Red Day, all right. Here's awesome.
It's May 12th. Everyone should know that. We are going to be going to volunteer at Must Ministries in Marietta. And there's a little quick clip that Keller Williams put together for this year. But we want to encourage everyone to volunteer. This is our big agent give back. We're going to be donating we are going to be volunteering at the donation center from 10 to 12 p.m. and then 1:30 to 3:30. You can sign up for a shift, just 2 hours, super easy, and an awesome cause. So we're going to have lunch at the office between 12 and 1 from a truck provided by Supreme, and then happy hour at 4 at, I always say it wrong, Atlanta Hard Cidery. Right. So
on 120, just past the big chicken. Right
yeah,
there.
so it's really close to where we'll be volunteering. So please join us.
And if you saw the Southeast Regional newsletter that came out with the video, it reminds you, close your business for the day, do your lead generation early, make it another time slot for it, but please don't schedule your closings. Please make a point to be here at one of the shifts. We need your donations, we need your help. Just because we all got away from it during COVID, we need to get back to Red Day. We need to make the commitment as an office that we give back. We don't just write a check and we don't just drop off food.
And tell your clients, because they appreciate hearing that, and they love that it's a nice perk for you, for them to know that you do this too.
Yeah,
so
sorry,
they'll
we can't see
understand that
houses.
you might not be available for the day.
Well, you can see houses during another time frame.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it's only a 2-hour time slot, so there's no excuses that people say I have to go show houses. Then show up, then come to the afternoon slot. I know
And
that
we
sounds
have plenty
firm,
of
but
leverage.
yeah, we're very
Time
passionate
pocket.
about this. Let's show it. Show up, everybody.
Show up.
Hey Liz.
Yeah.
Who's sponsoring the happy hour?
I have no idea.
We need somebody.
You
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Silverton is thank you, is sponsoring that.
Yeah,
just making sure.
Nice.
And the place is really fun. They have like games they'll set out. You can do flights of cider. It's a really kind of cute place.
More bourbon.
Silverton is providing that.
I like more bourbon. More bourbon is
Cider.
right. All right, let's hear this.
you went with the t-shirts, can they see you, Kimberly, for shirts?
Yeah, they should be coming in probably a week ahead of time, and you just come to the front desk.
What's the price on shirts? 20-ish?
No, not that much.
15.
I think it's like
Alright, there you go.
15.
So, or you have an old shirt from previous years, or you just wanna wear a red shirt for KW, or you can buy a new one.
We're excited about this guy. Please put it on your calendar and show us out. This is important to us as an office, but also to Kellogg International and the Regions. They're great guys.
We'll be
Ministries.
collecting food and items for Must Ministry to take over there that morning.
Great. And guys, I want you to put this on your calendar. Janice Overbeck and her team, they're sponsoring this thing, a happy hour on the KW Effect, how you can build your downline. And this Aaron Kaufman is amazing. So please put this on your calendar on May the 19th from 2 to 5. You want to hear Aaron because he will tell you how you can make this passive income. So when you want to retire one of these days, you'll have one more source of income. So please come listen to him. And thank you, J.O., for sponsoring this and making this happen. Lesson learned, Michelle.
I have a good one this week.
Does that mean last week was a bad one?
No,
Okay,
it gets better every week. There you go. You know, how many of you as buyers agents, I should say, get frustrated when the other agent doesn't respond? You've worked hard, you found a property, you've spent hours. Oh, there's a double hand. Anyway, I got an email last night and it gave me some time to think about it, because not only do I get emails from our agents saying, what do I do? I can't get any response. My client doesn't think I did what I was supposed to do. So it gave me some time to reflect. On the other hand, I'm going to park that for a second. You as listing agents, please be professional. Please respond. I had one of our agents say, I have too many of them to respond. I don't have time. I'm on vacation. Not our problem, because what happens is, guess who gets the phone call that you all aren't responding?
You.
I do. Does that make me happy? No, because we really do need to do this. There's systems you can set up if they're smart plans, whatever. But what I told this agent, I said, very rarely does it come out well when a broker gets involved in this. You just handed over your power to us. And so now the agent is kind of upset that you've gone over their head to their broker. What I would do is, how many of you know there's the form F-289, and that's request for confirmation of presentation of offers, counteroffers. Use this form, because what it does, if they're not obviously if they're a realtor, it is a code of ethics violation, or that they would bring that you're not presenting those offers. So this tells us that they have to sign that they did present it. So at least for yourself, you can tell your client, this is what I'm going to do, and you're documenting it if you ever wanted to make a complaint. But the board, aside from the Realtors Association, not everyone's a realtor. Some of them are licensed salespeople, but the Georgia Real Estate Commission states a licensee shall promptly tender to any customer or client any signed offer to purchase, sell, or lease or exchange property. It goes on, but it's reminding them that that's what they are licensed to do, and they're supposed to do it. So if you send this, at least it will document, and it may take some of the frustration out. I know that things are overwhelming, but do you think that might help you? Yeah, you really don't want to do this until they've not responded, because they're not going to look at this particularly graciously. They should, but they don't. You know, they don't necessarily do that. So, any questions? That's it.
Thank you. Yeah. Guys, before we move to our presenter today, so I got a phone call again this week. Hey Jim, my client wants you to call. I said, great, no doubt. Well, it's a sell, okay. They want you to call and assure them that this deal does not close. They will get their earnest money. Hey guys, how do you think I responded to that?
You can't guarantee that.
I can't guarantee that.
No.
Because number one, we're not holding the earnest money. And what is the call? What is the phrase in there? that gives the broker a lot of latitude. Reasonable interpretation of the contract. And I know of an office, a company where I was associated with a long time, and they're very liberal on their reasonable interpretation of the contract. So guys, please don't put me in, I don't mind calling, tell them, say, guys, I can't do that, I don't know. The contract says that, and we certainly will help you with that ability to do it. But guys, can we make that happen? The answer is no. Even when we hold the money, can we guarantee that? No. Now, do we have a better chance if we're holding earnest money? Sure. Yes. Exactly right. So guys, just please just remember, guys, that we have almost no control over raising earnest money from another company. You know anything to that, Michelle?
No, no, you said it well. That's it.
All right, you all. Mindy, come on in. Let's welcome Mindy Seeger. Come on in, come on. Let's give them a hand, you all. As they're setting up.
Yes. How's everybody doing this morning?
Oh, we're well.
All right. I like that.
So guys, a few weeks ago, as you know, I was out of town. That's where I was. But we had someone come in and talk about that they are pro what? The city of East Cobb. But then someone said, well, Jim, what about someone that says, well, we're not for it? So thank goodness Michelle got out there and was able to come up with a group that is like, here's why we should not be a city. So maybe I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk about it. Do you think?
I don't. I'm just going to spend an extra couple seconds here putting some maps up, because I'm sure as real estate agents, you guys love maps, right? That's like your little life. Where is it?
Right.
Where is the thing? Yeah, if you would, Jenny. So Jenny is my faithful assistant, the person who usually assists me with this had a family emergency. And I called my good friend Jenny last night. I said, hey Jenny, what are you doing tomorrow morning? How much do you love me? I highly recommend having friends like that. If you don't, find one. Jenny is mine. You can't have her. I may lend her out. We'll see.
So what do we call that in our office? We call it having what? Accountability. Leverage, right?
I'm not sure what I did to earn Jenny's friendship, but I'm glad I have it. So there's that. Okay, so Jenny's going to pass out some information for you all, and that's some things that we share with the community. But we are East Cobb Alliance, and we are the group that is opposed to cityhood in East Cobb. And we love East Cobb just the way it is. We think East Cobb is a great community. This is where I chose to raise my family, where my husband grew up through most of his teen years. And at any point, you can always get more information on our website, which is eastcobballiance.com. So I'm Mindy Seeger. I'm the chair. Jenny is my, because I told her to be here, assistant today. Sub-assistant and dear friend, who's been in the community for a while. So I kind of tailored this a little bit different than what we're presenting right now as we're going around to the HOAs, because I thought you guys would want a little bit more specific information. And some of the things that we talk about as far as real estate and real estate law are things that you guys are already familiar with. So I kind of wanted, we can get into those details. So number one question is kind of, what is East Cobb? So I want you to think of kind of its agents. That's probably a question you get asked. If you've got clients coming in, they've heard good things about East Cobb, great schools, low cost, great services. What is East Cobb and where is it, right? And that's a question you're going to have to answer should this happen, because what we think of as East Cobb is a much larger area and has about 180,000 people, and the proposed city of East Cobb, which is what this map is a lot smaller. So what is East Cobb? It's been voted the #1 place to live in Cobb County. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I love living in East Cobb. I think it's awesome. We've got a lot of charming neighborhoods, lots and lots of residential here, right? You guys know that. Excellent schools. My daughter will be attending Cobb. Please hold me. I'm not ready to have a high schooler, but here we are. And then about, like I said, the traditional area that we think of East Cobb is about 180,000 people. So what will a city of East Cobb be? And again, we've got this lovely sage green map. I don't know the exact color of the year that shade is. I'm sure someone could probably tell me. And this area will be about 25 square miles. And again, when we talk about that residential makeup, when we talk about the tax digest, this area will be 91% residential and 9% commercial. So that's kind of that mix there. It's very heavily residential. It includes about 60,000 people. And the #1 question we probably get is what happens to the schools? The schools remain in Cobb County. If your children live here and they attend Cobb County schools, they will continue to attend Cobb County schools. None of that changes. There is actually a state law, if you're not aware of this, that new municipalities cannot create their own school districts. So that is a thing that cannot change. Marietta City Schools was grandfathered in, Atlanta Public Schools
was another one that was grandfathered in. So if you know those city districts, that's why that is that way. So that can't change. So that's kind of where we are. Well, our group has looked at this in detail over the last several years and certainly heavily this year, and we've decided that we think folks should vote no on this, and this is not a good proposal, and we're going to talk about the 5 reasons why. And that is the tax and fee increases, the risk to public safety, following the money, the lack of transparency in this effort, and the fact that county taxes are probably likely to increase with the deficit, especially with 4 cityhood efforts happening in Cobb all at the same time. So I'm an accountant. I have an accounting degree, so I like to dig into the money. That's my favorite part. And what we talk about is feasibility does not equal sustainability. So by state law, they are required to, in any cityhood initiative, to have a feasibility study conducted. And that feasibility study is a 1-year snapshot of what the city could do. Is it feasible or not? Are they able to operate kind of in the black with a surplus or not in the red? And they've done that. They've met that threshold. However, again, that's a 1-year snapshot. That's not looking long-term, long view. And a lot of things don't happen in cities in the first year. One of my cohorts who does these panels with me sometimes jokes, in the first year, the mayor's still trying to find a coffee maker. Like they're still kind of figuring it out, right? So what happens if we're right? We feel there's some things missing, some important things missing from the feasibility study, important costs. And what happens if this gets voted in and on May 25th we wake up and we're gonna have this city of East Cobb, in a year, 2 years or more down the road, we find out that it's not really as feasible as they thought. It's not sustainable. They need to increase their revenues. They need to make some money, right? So how can cities do that? Immediately right off the bat, one of the first things they can do is they can increase your utility bills via franchise fees. That's 2 to 4% on electric. I think Cobb EMC is 4% and Georgia Power is 2%. Only municipalities can charge that franchise fee. And then they can also charge that on gas, phone, and cable. At current, East Cobb County residents pay that to cable, but it's paid to the county. That franchise fee would then transfer to the city. On the other utilities, a municipal city are the only entity able to charge that franchise fee. So that's an additional cost. It's not a tax. But as you well know, when you're figuring out finances and figuring out, okay, client, how much home can you afford? How do what does your expenses look like? This all kind of factors in. I like to call it the death by 1,000 cuts of all the little things of these expenses. The other thing they can do is they can raise the millage rate by 1 mil without voter approval or input. That's in the bill. So that 2.86 mils that we pay currently for fire is going to would transfer, and they can increase that 1 mil up to 3.86 mils without asking. They can levy special.
How often do they increase that?
That's a good question. Someone raised it because what it states in the bill is they can raise it 1 mil without voter approval. What it doesn't say is that they can incrementally do that, or they can only do it once and then they have to ask each time. That's a question we're trying to get some attorneys to weigh in on and kind of answer for us because it's a little vague in the language. Great question though. They can levy special assessment taxes without voter input. They can issue debt at a high interest rate via municipal bonds, and as you guys all well know, that's a pretty volatile market, and that's a burden to all the taxpayers. Sandy Springs has a big municipal bond that's coming due later this year. And what we think is most likely going to happen, and what cities typically do when they find that they need to grow their tax digest, is they look to increase the tax digest. And the ways they can do that is inviting high density residential development, tax abatements, or through annexation or some, pick a mix kind of thereof. So that's how they can increase those fees if they don't have enough money. The other thing that they're looking to take on in this proposal is your fire, 911, and police service, otherwise kind of ballooned into public safety as we look at it. Cobb County Fire has an ISO 1 rating. That influences your homeowners insurance rates. Not all insurance companies use that exact metric, but the ones that don't kind of use a lot of the same benchmarks, even if they don't look at ISO 1 rating per se. And I think it was Milton or Smyrna when it was Milton. When Milton increased their ISO 1 rating, they advertised that you could have up to an 8% savings in your homeowner's insurance. So that's, again, another added cost because the likelihood that a city of East Cobb Fire Department is going to have an ISO 1 rating is slim to not going to happen. Roswell is a 2. Milton, by comparison, is now a 2 and a 2. No, a 4 and a 4X. No, they were a 4. Now they're a 2 and a 2X. At one point, they were a 9 because they didn't have water to all of their fire stations. So and we're at a 1. We have the best of the best right in our backyard. The stations 15 and 21, and we're going to talk a little bit about what I like to call the blue map here.
Fire stations 15 and 21 are the two that will remain in the city, and they will have an expanded territory of 13% service territory. And what that means is they're going to be covering 13% more territory. And when you do that, as you know, when you expand your territory, your resources get spread a little bit more thin. And it's the Cobb County Fire folks have projected some increased response times due to that. Going back to the feasibility study, the cost of fire vehicles and equipment are among several things that aren't accounted for in the feasibility study, and we're going to talk about that law because I feel like you guys really want to talk about real estate law this morning. I'm guessing it's your favorite subject, or that you might know more than me would also not surprise me. But we're going to talk about that lack of cost. For 911, they are calling for a separate 911 service center. And why that's important is, if you think about the city of Marietta is on the same 911 channel as Cobb County. So they have, and we'll get into the type of agreement that they have, but they're on the same channel. So they're able to relay calls because it's all coming through the same dispatch center. In this scenario, East Cobb would have its own 911. So if there's a call that comes in and they need to ask for aid because stations 15 and 21 are out on a call, or stations 15 and 21 need additional units, they have to relay that to the Cobb County 911 center and vice versa, if the county would need the city's assistance for something. That adds anywhere from 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes of the call intake time. And that's before anybody's out the door to come to you in your situation. If your property is on fire, if your loved one's having a medical emergency, I'm getting ready to have a team driver again, hold me please, except hugs. If she's God heaven forbid in an accident, that's 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes longer before somebody's en route to her. For the police, East Cobb, as most of you probably well know, has lower crime rates than any of the Cobb unincorporated or incorporated cities. I think this is incorporated cities. For some reason, and I think it has to do with density, but anytime you're in a city, even in a suburban city, crime is higher. And we enjoy those low crime rates here in East Cobb. I feel like we're pretty well served by CCPD. That doesn't mean that they're not understaffed, but if you've been paying attention the last few years, every police department is understaffed. And part of the reason for that is the cost of recruiting, training, and retaining those officers is a pretty heavy expense to take on as far as doing that, and then having those facilities available to them. That's another question that comes up. Where are these police officers and firefighters going to train? Where are they going to do their evac? Where they learn how to drive fast but safely? I really want to take that class. I'm going to make some friends. So how does all that kind of work? So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into the fire protection, because this is something that is near and dear to us. And like I like to tell people, the fire department doesn't care how you vote. If your stuff is on fire, your people are hurt, they are coming to help you. So we're going to talk about this map, and I'm going to step over here for just a minute so you guys can see this and see this on the screen. So currently, what we think of as East Cobb is covered by 6 fire stations, and that's all these little shields here with the red flames on them. And this red border here is the proposed city of East Cobb, with kind of a dividing line up the middle, and that's kind of that break in service territory. So you'll have 2 stations in a city of East Cobb. You'll have station 15, that's the one closest to me, that's right there at Oak Lane and Johnson Ferry Road. You've got station 21, which is there at the government center at Lower Roswell Road, kind of across from the post office in Mount Bethel. Everything in blue is what they currently cover today, as what firefighters call their first in territory. So if they get a call, that's their first responsibility, and then they have what they call second in territories. Everything in blue they currently cover. So for station 15, which is, I call it my fire station, I hope they know that, but I take a little ownership of that. They're gonna lose this section called CC1, this yellow section in the map up here, if y'all can see that. And what that is what I like to think of as Roswell Cobb. That's Chimney Lakes, Edgewater Cove, Plantation North, Carriage Lakes, where they've got a Roswell mailing address, but they're still in Cobb County, right? Like they're kind of living that good life where they're like, we can get to Roswell, but we pay Cobb taxes. We're awesome. They're going to lose station 15 as their first in, and they're going to get their services then from station 14, which is a little bit further away. So those folks don't get to vote in this, but they are probably going to have increased response times. Station 15 is then going to pick up this kind of orangey pink area of EC1 and EC2. So again, on some of these western borders where 14 would be closer or station 20 would be closer, that will have to be covered by East Cobb City first. And if they need additional assistance, then they will contact the county for that. For station 21, they don't lose any territory. They keep everything that's in blue, but they gain this EC3 space kind of on that western border. So where the fire folks are projecting longer response times is really kind of on this western edge here of the city. And obviously the closer you live to the fire station, the shorter your response times are, because they still got to get to you, right? So we see that expansion, that's that 13% expansion in territory that we talked about. So we know that all fire departments kind of have these aid agreements and they help each other out, right? You're not gonna call 911 and nobody's gonna show up, that's not a thing. But what happens is they kind of they're gonna have to rely on support, and they're gonna have to rely on a lot of support from Cobb County having 2 stations. There was recently a home fire in Indian Hills, and I think some 18 apparatus responded to that unit, to that incident. A city of East Cobb is only gonna have 4 apparatus to work with. So they're gonna have to rely on the county pretty heavily while we are essentially taking the fire fund to run all of the city services. So how do those agreements work? And if you know this, I apologize for giving you information you know, but there's 2 kinds of agreements really that they get into. We have an automatic aid agreement, which is what Marietta enjoys. And if you think about the city of Marietta and where it's positioned in Cobb County, Marietta is very centrally located to Cobb. It's kind of surrounded on Cobb on all sides. There's a couple of little weird islands that they've annexed that are not really congruent, but Marietta sits kind of in the center. Marietta has a similar footprint to what we're talking, what's being proposed, similar population. They have 6 fire stations that cover the city of Marietta. So they can kind of, in a sense, handle a lot of their own fire protection needs. So what the county has with them is an automatic aid agreement. They're on the same 911 channel. Call comes into the 911 center and they look at it and they go, okay, Marietta, you're closer. Okay, Cobb, you're closer. They send the closest engine or apparatus to that event. In all other Cobb cities, and what we would have with Sandy Springs or Fulton or Roswell, is a mutual aid agreement. And the difference there is that in a mutual aid agreement, it is an incident by incident basis. Every time the city would need the county's assistance or the county would be requesting aid from the city, that has to be relayed through that 911 channel. And again, they're going to be on separate channels, so you've got that 1.5, 2-minute delay there. And again, just the separation of resources, like we talked about for these folks in this western border. If you live right here on Old Canton and 20 is closer to you, you're still going to have to see if 15 or 21 can get to you first before 20 would ever be dispatched. So that's definitely a concern that I have with the fire protection, and how do we maintain the great level of service that we have with such a reduced piece. We get to talk about fire trucks. I have a 7-year-old, so I talk about fire trucks and dinosaurs more than I really want to. But I love this season of him because I also have a 14-year-old, so it puts a lot in perspective. And I won't bore you guys with reading you the whole OCGA standard, but it is there for you if you would like to look it up. It's OCGA 363111. And that is the Georgia state law in regards to fire station transfers from the county to a municipality. And essentially what that law says is that if a municipality, new municipality forms, they can acquire those fire stations from the county entity for $5,000 a piece. As an accountant, I would have written it as a percentage of book value so that you could have continued to get something that was more market, but they didn't ask me. But what's important about that law is it clearly states that such terms shall include any buildings, fixtures, or other improvements on such property or in such facilities. So I want you to think about that in terms of what you do in your real estate business, of what buildings, fixtures, or other improvements, right? Fixtures, things that we think of as fixtures, appliances, things that are, hard-coded. Appliances kind of make it a little bit of a vague area, but typically speaking, you're not going to take the HVAC with you when you sell a home unless that's explicitly written that way, right? So what about the fire engines? Well, there's another Georgia State Code 4416, that clearly defines it even further. The fire engines and related equipment are not considered fixtures as they are movable machinery. And that defines what fixtures really are in the realm of real estate law. So the analogy that I like to make with folks to kind of bring it home to them is, if you buy my home, which yes, it's not for sale, as many calls as I get for that. Appreciate what you guys do. If my home is for sale, as cool as my blue minivan is, you don't get it with the house. That's not how it works. Even if having a minivan would be part of your day-to-day function of living in my house and taking kids to school and having a family, it doesn't come with it. And the fire trucks in this case are not going to come with fire stations either. They're going to have to be negotiated with the county. And I don't think that'll be 100% replacement cost. I certainly don't think it will be 0. They're going to have some negotiation there of what those assets transfer as and what that cost is. I also forgot to mention, in the sense of mutual aid agreements that we talked about earlier, that's not just a, hey neighbor, we're going to mutually aid each other. If it is an unevenly yoked agreement where the county is assisting the city more than the city is assisting the county, there is a cost to that, and we will be paying Cobb County a portion of those funds back. So those are some things that we think.
Do you have that cost for equipment up here on this version of the presentation?
I
think that's a big number.
I don't have the cost of the equipment in the presentation. That's a great question, Jenny. Don't have the cost of equipment in the presentation, but just rough numbers from a couple of years ago. The aerial truck, otherwise known as a hook and ladder, is what we would think of it. Those are $1.5 million. The engines or pumper trucks, as we traditionally think of a traditional fire truck, those are $800,000 a piece. The ALS truck that we have at Station 15, which is Advanced Life Support, does everything an ambulance can do. They just won't take you to the hospital. They treat you on site. Those are upwards of $500,000. And show of hands, has anybody tried to buy a vehicle in the last couple of years? Did you find there was a shortage and you couldn't get what you wanted?
Yes. Pay whatever they ask.
Pop quiz, did you know that fire trucks are not immune to that either? And the wait time on fire trucks is 2 years.
Wow.
So even if we go to buy new, you have to plan that pretty far ahead. And you also lose the balance of scale and that cost spread of Cobb County can buy, okay, we've got, these fire trucks are kind of at the end of their useful life, so let's buy 5. There are some other agreements they can get into, the city could get into with some other municipalities to kind of do a group pool share on that, but it's a lot easier when you're the only entity at the negotiating table.
And that cost is not in the feasibility study.
It is not in the feasibility study. So what do we know? We know that city living always costs more. Anytime you are within a city limit, it always will cost you more money. We know that residents in the current Cobb cities pay more, and we have this handy dandy chart. Cobb County has this on their tax website, and it's a little bit more broken up and detailed. All of that doesn't fit on a slide for people to be able to read. So what I did was I just took the county bill rate, which we know mill rate is 30.35, and then all of the Cobb cities in their county bill rate versus their city bill rate, and then their total. And you can see that in all 6 Cobb cities, they pay more in total millage rate tax than unincorporated Cobb. Austell comes in at the lowest at 30.74, but Austell gets a ridiculous amount of their budget through gas taxes because they have there's a gas operation there, and I'm gonna screw up the exact name of it. My sister-in-law who works for an oil company would murder me for that, but there's a gas incentive there in Austell that they're able to offset a lot of their costs. Smyrna, who we get compared to most often, they operate on 8.99 mils. So the question I would ask you or ask voters is, how does the city of East Cobb propose to run all of the city expenses on 2.86 mils when Smyrna operates at 8.99? 4 new cities are being proposed in Cobb, as we discussed. East Cobb is not alone in that, although we led the charge as being the first one out of the gate. And Cobb estimates that impact to their revenue is $45 million a year, with $23 million coming from East Cobb. So with that huge deficit, they're probably going to look to increase millage rate or have to increase in some way in the next few years. Is kind of our guess in that, based on historical data. So how did we get here? How did we even get? How is this even my life? How did I even get here? And you'll hear that this has been a 4-year process, and that's true-ish. True-ish is a word. It's been 4 years, 3 maps, 2 bills, and 1 resignation, as I like to say. That's my countdown. So this kind of came through, initially started as a feasibility study in December of 2018. Public safety was in that feasibility study, meaning they thought that that was important. That was a service they wanted to provide. In March of 2019, public safety was in that first bill that was introduced. There was no legislative action on that bill, and that bill then died in March of 2020. It gets reintroduced a year later, again, right at the end of session. Within the last 3 or 4 days of session, the bill gets dropped in HB 841, and public safety is out. They decided to take it out of the measure. It was parks and recreation, zoning and code enforcement, and trash at that point. They decided to walk away from public safety and not provide that service. In November of 21, study 2 comes out, and public safety is back in. And there have been no public meetings before that. What we're hearing is that it was a response to public input, but there was no large public meeting. There were some webinars, some HOA meetings, but no large public meeting ahead of that. So in January of 2022, we get a substitute bill, 841. Public safety is now in that bill, and it gets 3 updates in committee, including having to elect the mayor. Initially, that was going to be self-appointed among the city council members. The The election date was moved up from November to May when we have lower turnout. I have questions about why that was done. As well as, and it shortened our timeline for education by 6 months. And then also the regulation that if you look at this, and I don't have the district map, I do have it in the slide. You'll have 3 districts, but everyone is elected citywide, but those city council members have to live in those districts and they have to clean up that residential language for that. Usually what you'll see in a city council makeup like that is you'll see where in each district, one representative is voted on only by that district and the rest are elected at large. So you kind of have like a 3-3 split. This is a little bit different in terms of governments that you're gonna vote on all 6 city council members and the mayor citywide. So the question of accountability and that local control, will those folks really be accountable to just their district if they're really voted on by the entire city? So that's kind of the story of the bill, just the bill, y'all remember that? So affordable housing, this was a question that was asked that I understand is a concern, and as real estate agents, I can understand why that's something you would want to know more about. We get this question a lot. I know Commissioner Chair Cupid has made some comments about affordable housing and where it kind of goes in Cobb County. There's a fear of what affordable housing really looks like, what that really means. I kind of like to tell people if you can afford your house, you live in affordable housing. But by technical terms defined by HUD, affordable housing, low-income affordable housing, when we talk about low income, is 80% AMI, or 80% average median income of that area. For Metro Atlanta, which is where I got this top chart here, for a family of 4, 80% AMI is $66,000 a year in income. For Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Roswell, another HUD figure for that, median family income is $86,200, and again, that family of 4 at 80% AMI, you're looking at $68,000. That is more than your step 1 through 3 Cobb teachers make. That is more than your first few year firefighters and police officers make. That's more than your grocery store managers make typically. Those salaries average in the $45,000 to $50,000 a year range. And why that's important is I think those are people that we do want to live in our community. So we've got to give them somewhere to live. I think about my kids when they come home from college, when again, high school or a 7-year-old, I'm not ready, but when they do, I want them to be able to live close to home. And they're not going to be able to do that if we continue to see the skyrocket and don't have that. So at that income rate of roughly 68,000, if you were to put 20% down and go to a 30-year mortgage, you could potentially get a $350,000 house in East Cobb. I pulled this listing last night. This is a $350,000 house in 30062. So this is what affordable housing in East Cobb would look like. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. We hear a lot about zoning, right? We hear a lot about zoning. We hear about the East Cobb Church and Z72, or the Josh case. Josh is an acronym that the county came up with for Johnson, Ferry, and Shallowford. That was a small area plan that was put in place by former Commissioner Bob Ott. And there is now going to be a church on that location. And there's been a lot of talk about this. This was opposed in the community. It had both support and opposition. The land was owned by a single landowner, and they sought a single purchaser for all of that land. So they partnered with North Point Ministries for that property. North Point went, it's a little more property than what we really need for the church. So they partnered with a residential developer to put some residential units in this development. I've heard they filled in the lake. They who filled in the lake is the original property owner. They filled in Maddox Lake to repurpose it as a stream. And that project was permitted and completed in December of 2020. Zoning was approved in October of 2021. So essentially what you have here is the developer was asked to work with the community. They worked with East Cobb Civic Association, who's been heavily involved in zoning issues. At the end of the day, through a year of kind of going through that, East Cobb Civic Association said, okay, we're happy with the proposal, go for it. What we're going to end up with is residential gated community, 5 units per acre, public green space, and a low profile church. Floodplain study recently came back and they're going to reduce that residential by 20 units based on the floodplain study. And at each public hearing, it was consistently attended by a supportive majority. Now again, that doesn't mean there wasn't opposition. What that means is there were more people there in support than in opposition, and that's much like the vote that's going to happen on May 24th. Tokyo Valentino, I hate talking about this one, but I have to because it comes up all the time. This was a business on Johnson Ferry Road, and they applied for their business license fraudulently. They applied for their business license as a clothing store, and if you drove by there, that was not the bulk of their business. Cobb County revoked their business license in July of 2021, and they looked at their zoning regulations and said, hey, we can kind of button this down a little bit, and they have now limited those adult type businesses to industrial areas in Cobb County. That store permanently closed, that location permanently closed in October of 2021 by the Cobb Commission. Cobb Commission is the only entity to be successful in doing so. That business still operates today in Marietta and Sandy Springs under that same false business license. So we tell people to make your plan to vote no. I like to tell people to make a plan to vote. I plan to vote early on a Saturday. I didn't make it. I went and voted yesterday. You can still apply for your absentee ballot up until May 13th, and early voting starts May 2nd, which is just around the corner, through May 20th. And May 24th is Election Day, and what you will see at the bottom of your ballot, no matter which ballot you choose, is shall the act incorporating the city of East Cobb in Cobb County according to the charter contained in the act, that's a lot of legal language, be approved, and we want people to check no. So that's it. That's us. We are the East Cobb Alliance. We love East Cobb just the way it is, and I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Why is it not a May ballot instead of waiting till November when most people would come out and vote? Is it demographics of who they think might support something when someone puts on an odd ballot?
That's an excellent question. You know, and Mableton is set for November. All the 3 other initiatives were all moved from November to May. I don't know if that's a targeting thing or just a hope that less education will get people to go their way. But by just by comparison, in this area for a November general election, turnout is usually about 75%. For a primary, it's 25%. So this whole thing will likely be, unless we have some amazing spike in turnout, this whole thing will be decided by 25% of the voters. And it is a matter of who shows up more. It's not a percentage of, I've had this question too. It's not a percentage of the electorate, it's a percentage of the voters that turn out. So if 5,000 people show up, it's the 50% plus one of that 5,000. But I think it was that kind of leads to the rush. And actually, when the first substitute was offered in January, they had slapped it together so fast in changing it that it had 2 different election days. It said May and November, and they didn't correct it. And when former Representative Matt Dollar was asked what changes have been made from what he proposed in May or in March of last year to now, he said, I don't know, but they all went through the committee. He couldn't name a single change in the bill, not one. And he also quit his job the day it got approved.
Right, I'm kind of concerned about the CC1 area on the map.
I'm too.
All right, well, I guess are you part of the Roswell area over there?
I'm not. I actually live right by Station 15. I actually live right behind it, off of Oak Lane. But my husband grew up in Chimney Lakes, so and I've got friends in that area. Sure.
Well, you see, I mean, because that whole area is kind of like a weird black hole. It's East Cobb, but then it's Roswell, you know, like I know the
it
postal.
It isn't, right?
Well, yeah, it's not part of Roswell. I mean, it's not incorporated, so it's not part of Roswell. We have Roswell mail carriers that deliver our stuff. So, and I know that we have East Cobb firefighters. So, what's going to happen with that particular ton of land in case this thing goes through?
Well, I think it will be very difficult for you to explain as a real estate agent if people are looking at homes there, because they'll have a Roswell address, and because cities cannot annex over county lines, they will never be a part of unless the county lines move, and I don't even know the process for that. They'll always have a Roswell mailing address unless the post office doesn't. So they're Roswell, but they're not. They'll be considered East Cobb by most people's standards, but they're not city of East Cobb, and they'll be serviced by Cobb County. So again, when we talk about this map, when we talk about this map, the CC1 will be covered by Station 14, where today they're covered by 15. Think about how Johnson Ferry dead ends right there into Shallowford. That's a pretty fast track to get there. Station 14 is over at Sandy Plains and Holly Springs, and they've got to make that trek over. I mean, even with lights and sirens going in traffic, if you've ever tried to drive through there at the Aquatic Center, that gets a little sketchy. So I'm concerned about that area too. I think they kind of get left in this limbo of they're kind of East Cobb, but not really. They're kind of Roswell, but not really.
Well, I mean, I think that area.
And they don't get to vote.
Well, yeah, we don't vote for this per se, but I guess would that leave our taxes the same? So in case the rest of the city of Roswell, kind of the tax base there kind of gets to bump up, will it impact us? Because see, we're not part of the incorporated Roswell, this or that, so might just be somebody else's problem.
Kind of in a way. So you would stay with whatever Cobb County decides to do, but if Cobb County has to raise revenues to make up for these deficits, then you may see an increase there as well. And what I know the Pro City Hood folks have this chart where it kind of is a 1-to-1 bar chart. I have never in my history of looking at a government budget ever seen a one-to-one follow through revenue expenses margin. We used to call it flight of the bumblebee in accounting school. First thing I learned in government accounting is everything you think about accounting, do it backwards. And I used to think that was a joke. Like the very first day of government accounting, I'm like, oh, that's funny. And he's like, no, 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 seriously, all your asset accounts are contra assets. It's literally a mirror image. It's backwards to what you're used to. So I don't really take a lot of faith in the fact that it's going to be a one-to-one shift, or that we're going to be able to fund all of these city services and things we want to do on just 2.86 mils. Another deficit in the feasibility study is the road maintenance. They're not taking on roads. It's a footnote in the feasibility study with a $6 million budget. Here's the problem. It's not in the financials when they do the financial calculation. So there's a $6 million hole. And if they don't take on roads, there's a question whether or not they can charge the franchise fees, which is projected $3 million in revenue. So that's a $9 million swing in a $24 million budget.
Well, let me ask you this. Sure. Corporate world, since you're kind of approaching this from an accounting viewpoint, I guess if the projected values that they're actually kind of saying to go forward now, how much of a shortfall would you guesstimate? It's nothing that, you can say, hey, look, right here, I stamped this is that. What, you're saying that we already have a $9 million shortfall there that isn't being, I guess, reflected?
$6 million in expenses not accounted for, and if they don't take on road maintenance, they may not be able to acquire $3 million in revenue. So, yeah, that's $9 million there. The other thing is the equipment cost for the police cars, the fire trucks, things of that nature, and that's kind of an unknown that will have to be negotiated, but it's not zero. Facility leases is another one. If you look at the very first page, the executive summary says facility leasing is zero. Facility leasing is like, where is City Hall going to be? Where are we going to build the city court? Where are these things going to happen? And the assumption is that they will either acquire or share the space at the government center. But again, that's Cobb County property, it's a Cobb County asset that was paid for by all Cobb County residents. So if you're in that CC1, you've absolutely helped pay for that building. That now the city just assumes they can either acquire or they can share with the county. And again, those things have to be negotiated. So excellent questions.
Anybody else have a question?
Anybody else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
How can you explain that, for instance, City of Alpharetta, downtown infrastructure, everything. Smyrna, the same. Whatever you turn, East Cobb is kind of shy, old history, sitting here, nothing is moving, nothing is changing. And when people coming in, I'm trying to present them East Cobb as a perfect area, distance to city, but no, let's go see Alpharetta.
Sure.
If we are separate city, would we have more money allocation for rebuilding, for brushing it up, or it will be the same? What is the benefit for exploring and
exploring? So it's a couple, for me, for us, that's a couple of things. One, when we look at cities like Alpharetta, Sandy Springs, Smyrna, some of these other areas, or even just the cities that have been incorporated in the last 10 or 15 years. So let's look from Sandy Springs, which was kind of like, hey, did you know you can create a city? This is kind of cool, right? So Sandy Springs was kind of the first one to kind of bust out of the gate after cities hadn't been created in Atlanta in Marietta. In Cobb, we haven't seen a new city in 100 years. So in those cases, we did a study, my partner in crime, Bob Wax, did a study where he pulled all the feasibility studies for those cities and what they're operating at today. And in every single case, they are operating anywhere from 3 to 17 times their feasibility study. So yes, they have amenities, but they're also paying for it. In this proposal, I'm seeing that your costs are gonna go up, but I don't see the intrinsic benefit. If somebody could tell me what the intrinsic benefit is, maybe I'm willing to shell out a couple more dollars for that, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that benefit to cost increase. And then what's being proposed is that it's not going to cost you any more money, and also nothing's going to change. To which I have a lot of residents coming to me going, "Well, then what's the point?" I'm like, yeah.
Speaking of sprucing up in East Cobb, the one thing that, to me, showing homes and, and telling people about what a great area it is and everything is not, I feel like we do have a lot of restaurants. I feel like there's been a lot of, you know, the sprucing up of shopping centers and everything. But the medians are horrible all the time, and I have to say in other areas and cities, Alpharetta was such, you know, that they're just beautiful and well kept, and it's like, I just don't understand why we can't keep ours out.
Yeah, the grass.
It's embarrassing.
And I think that's, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that is part of DOT. So again, that becomes a question of who, are we still gonna have Cobb County servicing that? Or is the city of East Cobb going to be servicing
So
that?
that's what I mean with like the city and, you know, and I'm, you know, I'm pretty set on where I'm going, but, but as far as the city goes, that would probably be one of the things that I would be like, you know, are they going to take over that and do a better job with it than the county has? Because, you know, when you go in these other areas and they have beautiful medians, that really makes such a difference in the way a city looks.
Absolutely. So, you know, what I like to question, you know, thinking about this in a sense of heavy skepticism, admittedly, but does the city does it give you those protections or benefits that you're seeking? In a sense of zone, you know, things like the maintenance, things like zoning, property owners have a legal right to develop within certain parameters. Zoning has a process. They're going to adopt, and I know we've got the bigger map here. This is the, we call this the Cobb Flume map. Swap these for just a second. This is the future land use map of Cobb County. This is a 2040 plan that was put in place in 2019. So when we look at this and we look at kind of East Cobb here, and this is pixelated by land parcel, I call it the color by numbers map. Most of what you see here in East Cobb is coded white, which is low density residential. In the 2040 plan, it states that the commercial activity centers are already there. That's Park Air, that's the avenues, those centers are already there. The medium residential that you see, medium density residential, those are already there. Those are the condos behind Park Air. Those are the townhomes and things that are already existing. We don't see, there's this fear that Cobb County Commission is going to do all this crazy development and zoning change in East Cobb, but the 2040 plan doesn't show that. This gets edited and updated every 5 years, but it does that with community input. So, you know, kind of in response to things about the medians or other things that you wish to improve, what mechanisms are in place now that we can kind of pull those levers without having this permanent layer of government and additional costs with that? Yes, sir.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So I've heard Lisa Cupid is being quoted that she wants to make zoning in Cobb County, the entire county, somewhere in the city of where you can put.
Yeah, I haven't heard that exact quote, but I've heard a lot of things she said.
Yeah, so you can put, you know, you got single family homes now, well, no, let me build another structure on a lot, fit it out, you know, build garage apartments.
Yeah. So I know that the county is looking at what's called the Unified Development Code. I've also heard that called the Urban Development Code, which is not what it means. They present it as a efficiency project, and hey, we've got zoning in 5 different books, and there's kind of all of these different places to go find these zoning rules. We need to condense that, put it in one set of rules, look at any conflicts, and do that. Again, when I look to the 2040 plan, and this is kind of the guidepost, it doesn't mean this is 100% going to stay this way, it's etched in stone, but this is the guidepost that they look at. So if someone came in and proposed a project that went against this plan, they would have to present why that's needed and get that community input. And I think our commissioners do a decent job of asking for community input. There's also something that's being said that the commissioners are being outvoted 4-1. There's not been a 4-1 vote. Kelly Gamble gets staggered with that one, that it's they outvote her 4-1. There hasn't been a 4-1 vote since she's been on the commission. And typically they have, they call them gentlemen's agreements, although we have an all-female commission right now. Where if a commissioner, if there's a project in a commissioner's home district, most of the time the other commissioners will agree to whatever that commissioner's ruling is. That's not always. Sometimes we do have 3-2 votes. In the case of the church, Lisa Cupid recused herself from that case because she attends that network for churches. Full disclosure, so do I. You know, so I just look at it from a factual basis and kind of what happened there. But I think this map, the flume map, as we've come to know it and love it, otherwise known as the color by numbers, I don't see any of these major changes that are being brought to people in a very fear-based. The county is coming for these properties and they're going to make all these changes. And I'm like, well, show me a proposal where that's proposed. Show me where we, even in the case of Park Air or the avenues, where yes, those have changed hands as far as who's managing and owning those properties, but they're working with the community Avenues by Example wanted to put green space and do a concert series and things right at the front of that shopping center, and the neighborhood, the community around it said, please don't do that, that's a noise issue. They've made plans to move that more to the center of that facility. That just came out in news in the last couple of days. So there's a lot of engagement in East Cobb, and there's a lot of opportunities for community involvement in those things. And I hope, if nothing else, if we get nothing else out of this whole initiative, I hope that we end up with more engaged folks that are engaged in the process. Please.
And Mindy, if I could add, so the reason I'm volunteering my time to help with this morning and leaving work, is because I lived right up the street in Fox Hollow, and I've been here for 10 years. My in-laws have been in Indian Hills since the 80s. And I have never heard anybody say, I wish we had a city of East Cobb. I've been involved in the largest elementary school in this area. I've been in community organizations, I've worked with churches. I have never heard a groundswell of, we really need to have a city. And it makes me wonder, where is this coming from? And now this is me, I am not officially East Cobb Business Alliance, I am Jenny Peterson, citizen. But when I asked Representative Dollar about this at Bob Ott's town hall in 2019, with the first bill, he said, quote, I made promises to people that I needed to put this bill in, because it was being rushed at that time. And I asked him, to whom did you promise this? I asked him that again when I saw him at Sine Die in 2020. I asked him that again at another forum. Who wants this? This is like a solution, but we're gonna build this fear that the county is coming, the county is gonna do all of these kinds of things. East Cobb is a great place to live. Y'all know this. This is why you sell here. This is why I live here. I don't understand where this is coming from. And I was part of a grassroots group. I was a very small volunteer in the group about what happened with the Isaacson Living. I saw what a grassroots group looks like. That is not what I see with East Cobb, the city of East Cobb. And it really gives me a lot of pause. And that's why I started going deeper into this. I never heard about it at PTA meetings. I never heard it on the sidelines at my kids' soccer games at the YMCA. I never heard this. And then all of a sudden we've got a bill dropping, and we better do this because our way of life is going to be changed. I don't understand it. So, and first do no harm, right? So if this is a great idea, let's hear about it in a different iteration at another point.
We have a class coming at 11 o'clock. Any final burning questions?
Thank you for doing a very unemotional, these are the facts kind of presentation.
Yes. The facts kind of sell themselves. I don't have to do a lot of arm
Well, guys, believe it like this, guys, you know, you get to decide. Don't sit on the sidelines, let my vote not count. Go vote.
Your vote in this will absolutely.
Guys, can we give them a hand?
I've been doing it like this without. You too.